Hi, Greg. Welcome to If Innovation Could Talk.
Hello, young lady. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Now, Greg, you have a very interesting background in marine biology and you are now working in electric vehicles. Tell us, what
Oh,
does innovation mean to you?
well, I think it's a perfect situation. Uh, Environmental background, concerned about the oceans, and we definitely know that electric vehicles are a solution. They're a vehicle that doesn't steal your oxygen. They're a vehicle that doesn't uh, pump out toxic exhaust fumes, and they're a vehicle that are very inexpensive to operate.
Well, having said that, there is still a lot of controversial around electric vehicles, mainly because most of the world's electricity still comes out of fossil fuels. So there is actually a school of thought that mostly it is transferring carbon emission from the exhaust pipe to the power plant. What do you say to that?
Rubbish. There's a little bit of a foundation to it, but in effect, Uh, if you're running all electric vehicles in the cities, for one, the cities are cleaner, you're not polluting them with exhaust fumes, but the actual source of all the fuel is created by electricity. And even if you run an electric car off fossil fuel generate electricity, it's much more efficient. And it's a good case in point, actually, which is good for us. There's one country one of the countries that's approached us. They want to build our electric vehicles. Their problem is that their country's green. All their electricity comes from either hydro or solar or something else. Yet what they do is they import vehicles, then they import the fuel, and then they pollute their cities. So if they stop importing vehicles and building them and they're electric, they run them off their already existing grid, they clean their cities up, and they're not wasting all their money shipping fuel in. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. So, how far away is Australia from using renewables or relying on renewables entirely? Because as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, only 4 countries in the world are powered entirely by renewables. So I think it's Iceland, Paraguay, Costa Rica, and Norway. So how far is Australia away from this?
Australia's getting very close, and both Tasmania and South Australia are well positioned to be fully renewable in the near future. What they need to do, of course, is manage that. And one way of managing it is with batteries. And the perfect way to manage it is if you've got electric vehicles everywhere, because you've got a battery resource around the community, and that offers energy security.
So, from an Australian perspective, what would you like to see the government do more of?
I mean, it's pivoted. We've got that 5 billion grant. We're running a trial now that's a unique global trial, AC bidirectional energy management. And it effectively means that you can run the house off the car, you can provide grid services, and of course, for the power generators, it's a saving for them, saves them money. You know, you're actually providing the grid stability services with your vehicle.
Mm. So what about as individuals? Because most people are still driving combustion engine cars, and there's a lot of concern with the ever increasing cost of car bills. So what can we do as individuals in the immediate future if we can't go out and buy an electric vehicle immediately? What can we do now to influence the future and be kinder to the environment?
Well, you talk to politicians, I guess. They're the ones that set the rules and the regulations and the standards. And what's going to happen, it's going to be overwhelming. With a number of, we've already got forward orders for nearly 2 million vehicles. We haven't even got a factory started yet, and $2 million worth of vehicles. And so we're very optimistic that once we've got things operating, the take up of EVs, affordable ones in particular, will be the same as the rush was to mobile phones, you know, and you saw how quickly mobile phones penetrated.
Absolutely. So one last thing, Gray, before we unfortunately have to let you go. What would you like to see in the next 12 months that we can do to move towards engaging with electric vehicles and using electric vehicles?
I think the government needs to run a bit of a campaign demonstrating that electric vehicles don't need charge points. The majority of people with electric vehicles charge them at home. It's the most convenient thing going. You go home, charge at home, job done. And so the government needs to start a bit of an education program, and it needs to do things that encourage electric vehicle uptake. Because at the end of the day, it's a saving off the health budget, it's a saving off pollution. I mean, there's about $7.3 billion a year wasted repairing damage done by fossil fuel vehicles, health damage and pollution damage.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much, Greg, for sharing your insights with us.
No, thank you.